Hello and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ammara Masood. I am the CEO and President for National Data Consultants, which is called NDC Tech. It's a technology firm, and my whole career since the beginning of 20 years plus has been in the technology area in various positions. First in junior positions, and then into leadership positions. And I've also started many companies. I've started at least 3 companies, founded 3 companies and then also working for some in leadership positions. So today the topic, which is very interesting for me, has been given to me is how can men be allies for women? And this is related not only to workspaces, but also in the educational institutions. And since the beginning of my career, this was a topic which I was always very sensitive to. And I worked, very hard to make sure that whichever organization that I was in or whichever team that I was in, this topic would be in the forefront of my mind on how I operated and how I used men to become my allies to get me into places and for them to promote diversity in my organization. Just to understand what we are talking about here, and what are the challenges related to being allies in the workspaces. So I think the context we need to look at is from the side of what do men need to do to become allies for women? And this is, I think, the first question. And then what do women need to do to make men be advocates for them and to promote gender diversity for them? I think there has been a McKinsey study, which took place last year, in which they looked at the gender equity, and what they found is that any organization which is taking this cause of gender equity to the forefront, wherever this cause is led by men, or there is a lot of men as part of this gender diversity cause, and those men are deliberately engaged in this cause, there is results of 96% organizations which are progressing in this particular cause versus organizations which do not include men in the diversity cause and are led only by women. There is only 30% progression in those organizations. So I think this is a very interesting fact, because whenever somebody else other than your own gender is talking and promoting the cause of diversity, inclusiveness, collaboration, then it will always work better in with any organization. And also from my experience, I have found the same, that if I talk about women diversity and what we need to do, maybe the message is not very clear, or the message is not resonated as much if a man speaks about it on my behalf. Okay, so I think this is true for any particular cause, but I think this study which was done by McKinsey also proves that. However, I think one thing we need to take into account is that many of these gender equality talks, or how men can be more allies, they miss the mark on what the focus of gender diversity needs to be. Most of the time, the gender diversity is looked at as a woman issue, okay? Because and the focus of gender diversity is more on how women can actually change, whether they can change in their leadership, the way that they do leadership, or the way that they network with other people within the organization, or with their customers or partners or anybody else. But the focus has always been on the change that the women need to have, which will bring this diversity. I think this is a misnomer, and there are many studies which also say the same thing, that the focus really needs to be on how inclusive and collaborative behaviors need to be inculcated in organizations, and the different management styles, which will make it easy for women to be inclusive in various roles within an organization. And this is very important, that any organization or educational institution, when they are working on gender diversity and looking at the makeup of teams or different departments or the levels of management, they need to really look at what is the crux of the problem areas, and how they need to make inclusive the women in different kinds of roles. So I think in terms of how men can help in that regard, firstly, the right kind of men have to be chosen to promote this cause of diversity, because it is one thing to just come in and talk in a conference or a panel or a webinar about how a man thinks gender diversity is very important, and inclusiveness of women is very important, but then they go back and behave exactly in the opposite manner. So it is important that when we take the cause of gender diversity, we select the right kind of men to promote this cause, who in their behavior do not show any sexism, and in day-to-day operations of their organizations, or the way that they collaborate with people, etc., is basically going to be the behaviors that we want, which we are talking about promoting in gender diversity. So this is exactly one good way of looking at, when you have a makeup of a classroom and there are, let's say, 10 women in that class and 100 men, so there's only a 10% inclusion. You will notice that, women will most likely not speak in the class because of the amount of men who are present in, the majority of the people. But if men, if you want allies to be in the classroom, or when there are different teachers, etc., who choose women to speak, they encourage women to speak. They encourage them to show their competency in the knowledge of the subject that they have, or the thought process that they have. Then these are the kind of men who actually are promoting gender diversity. The other thing related to the workplace is also very much, that I think culture has to do a lot with it. And especially in Pakistan, we do understand that, other than the role that we are playing in the workplace, which might be a 9-to-5 job or a teaching job with less hours, or a part-time job with fewer hours, there are also many other responsibilities a woman is taking. In the household, she may be a wife, she may be a daughter, she may be a daughter-in-law, she may be a mother, and all of these different responsibilities that she's taking. And in addition to that, she is working in an organization where she is not being looked at equally, because men, when she tries to talk within a meeting, men talk over her. They try to shut her up, as though she doesn't have any brains, or she's not being listened to properly, etc. So this kind of sexism is just intolerable for any organization to promote. And there should be policies within the HR. There should be some kind of promotion within the organizations, where they are sensitive of these type of things happening, and take care of them. I think the other challenge that we look at when we are talking about allies, men as allies for women, is definitely related to how they treat women in situations, where a woman would be very awkward. For instance, in my own experience, what I found is for the last 10 years, the kind of work that I'm doing, I go into different countries outside of Pakistan, which are very conservative countries. One of them being Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, you cannot, at least when I started going back in 2012, women were not even allowed in the workspaces in the areas where men used to work. So they were actually given some corner in the building where they could work. Okay, and they would be, because I work with banks a lot. There were specific women branches, etc. But now, even in countries like those, there has been so much progression, and there has been a voice, and especially because men have been able to support this cause, where now women are truly going out and going and meeting. And even now today, when I go to Saudi Arabia, I sit in the same meeting rooms as other men and women, and I see that there are women who are coming in leadership positions in those countries as well. So it is. I'm a true believer that it is definitely needed for women to have allies, who are promoting this cause of gender diversity, and make sure that women are being looked after so that they can progress well in their career and promote themselves. So I think this is all I had. If there are any questions, I would love to take them.
Yeah, we have one question, actually a couple of questions. So one is a generic one, talks about how do you build men allies?
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is a good question of how you build men allies, and I touched on this subject a little bit as well. One is that within any organization, you need to see who are the men which have inclusive behavior, right? So there may be some men, who have a lot of sisters in the house, and they're used to having, women. Sometimes they're used to having women in dominant positions, because when you have a lot of sisters and you're the only brother, most of the time the sisters will, try to be very dominant with you. So you're used to that. So those kind of men are, can be good allies for a woman in an organization, because they understand the nature of women. They don't feel that women need to be depressed, or women need to be dominated in some way or the other, and they can be good inclusive behaviors related to that. Plus, you can also look at other men who you think they have a history. They've been with an organization for a few years, and you can see their different behaviors, whether it is in meetings, whether when you are networking with different people. You can see that they always include women in and promote them and encourage them to be as participatively, and also do not say that okay, women are some other kind of grade where they need to be paid less, or and their work is not up to the mark or something like that. So you need to choose the right allies by looking at different behaviors within the organization.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. The other question is, what impact can we make on a higher level, creating awareness for employers, for example, biases against hiring women in tech positions?
Yeah, so I think, I can say from my own experience, because I interview a lot of people as part of my job. I'm the CEO of a company, and whoever is being hired, before they are actually given the letter, I like to actually meet them, so that I know who we are hiring in our organization. And many times, what I see is that when we start interviewing, most of the women come above par. Okay, majority of the women will come shortlisted, just because they are more organized, they're more intelligent, more focused, and you can even see in the medical profession. This is true for I think many professions where a lot of women are actually taken in, and they take a lot of seats, but then later on somehow they don't progress their career. But in technology, I think this has become a great advantage for women, and women should promote, when they go to interviews, they should promote themselves that they are able to work from home, they are able to work, of course they are able to come to the office, but now with the COVID situation happening, many organizations have shown flexibility and shown that there is a lot of more consistency with women hiring women than hiring men, because men can change their mind, men can go here and there, and they jump a lot because they are thinking about different things as part of their career, whereas women are more consistent. Once they make a decision, they would not like to move very much in the areas. So when you are interviewing to get hired, this is an important aspect that you should definitely talk about with your employer, of what you can bring to the table just because of your gender. Okay. Sorry, I can't hear you. I think you are on mute.
Oh, sorry for that. I was just saying that we are at time. Thank you so much, Ammara, for being here. We have a couple more questions in chat. We'll answer that over there. And again, thank you so much for sharing your insights on a very important topic, how men can be allies and they can help a woman succeed and advance their career. Thank you so much.
Thank you.